great time of the year to get out and make sure people are getting out to vote. We have early voting, and a lot of us, of course, don't think it ought to be 45 days and election day ought to be election day. That being said, that's not the law currently. And so for those of you who live in Roanoke County that are here today, if you want to, you can vote right over there. When you finish here, I will say this. If you're going to vote early, make sure you do it live and in person, which is what you can do at this location. You can do it live and in person if you want to, or you can get out on election day. Now, I've been doing this for a few years, and I started young. Thank you, whoever said that. I appreciate it. There you go. And so I'm going to tell a story because the senator actually asked for this in the Benton Carroll County. This was a part of my stump speech back in 2010 when I was telling folks how important the election was going to be, and this year's election is going to be important. We have the possibility of picking up 3 seats in Virginia. We've got to hold the seat in the 9th. That's right. We have the possibility of picking up 3 seats in Virginia. Go ahead. We've got to, on this side of the state, we've got to hold the 9th, we've got to hold the 5th, and we've got to hold the 6th. We need y'all to get out and do that. So in 2010, all the polls had us down until the week before. And then one poll, and not all people were doing polls, so I don't want to offend any of the others, but at that year, WDVJ was doing polling with Survey USA. And the week before the election, they finally had us up 1. Of course, the margin of error was like 4. We ended up winning by 4.8. But what I told people then, and I will tell you now, is that people working the polls, people calling their neighbors, people talking to their friends, it makes a difference. And I flashed back to when I was a new lawyer, just had started practicing a couple of years before, and we had the flood of '85. Some of you heard the story. And in the flood of '85, we used to have precincts around, and there was a precinct at Conehurst. Conehurst precinct was at the East Salem Elementary School. Mason Creek runs by there, and trailers had washed down. And people were cleaning up all kinds of stuff. Now, I was very fortunate in the flood of '85 because I went home, there was water all in the basement, and I looked at it for a minute, and I realized I was very fortunate. All the water was coming in on the uphill side, and I could open the back door and let it all out. And that's what it is. It was being stopped by the door. But a lot of people didn't have that advantage. And so it had been a long day. I was in charge of signs. I might have even been, I think I was chairman of the party then, but I might have been. I was either chairman or vice chairman, and I was in charge of signs. And in those days, we didn't have these nice wickets. You had to go out and you had to put them up with stakes, and you had to take them down. And I had gone to Congress, which was Salem's smallest precinct, to start taking signs down. And I was taking signs down. It was a little chilly, and the trailer was sitting over there, and nobody had come in for about 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, it was dark. Daylight savings time started at a different time, too. So we'd already gone back to regular time, and it was dark out. And at 6:45, I see these headlights coming into the parking lot. Those headlights came in, they were coming in fast. Guy pulls up and he says, I just realized watching the news that it's election day. He said, I've never missed an election. I'm here to vote. Is it too late? I said, no, sir, you can go in those doors right over there. And I said, oh, and by the way, here's some materials for the candidates that I support. And he said, thank you, and he ran on in. A few minutes later, he comes out. In fact, he came out, and as he was coming out, they're ringing the bell. Polls are now closed. And he walked over to me, handed me the material back, and he said, I just want you to know. I got into the voting booth, and I had no idea who to vote for. And I figured, if that young man is willing to stand out here in the dark and in the cold, his candidates probably deserve my support. And so I voted for your people. Folks, that's the impact you can have on election day. That's the impact you can have now since we have early voting. Take your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, and get them to the poll early or get them there on election day, whatever's your choice. But make sure they vote. Because I was just doing an interview and they asked me about, do you worry about democracy? And I don't. Our republic will stand as long as people exercise their democratic principles and actually get out and vote their consciences. And if they do that, and enough people turn out, Republicans will sweep Virginia, and we will sweep the United States of America. I always like to finish by making sure that folks know that I've been very blessed. And my family's been very blessed. We're going through a tough time right now. Mom's in ICU. Not good. I'm heading back there after I finish here. I ask you to keep her in your prayers. But also to keep all the people going to the polls in your prayers, and all the candidates in both parties in your prayers. And they pray that God, notwithstanding the fact that we probably don't deserve it, that God will continue to keep the United States of America. Amen. He has blessed us, absolutely. Thank you. That being said, I have a good friend in the United States Congress. We traded some territory. Some of his people are my people, and some of my people are his people now. But we're all on the same team. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage. Welcome to the stage, Congressman Ben Cline.
Thank you, Morgan. Let's hear it for Congressman Morgan Griffith. We love you, man. And we are all just one big family working together to better the Roanoke Valley. And we are going to keep your mom in our thoughts and prayers. And just like, we hold each other close. And we know that God's got a plan. And we don't know what it is. And I've always said, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plan. But we have faith that everything is going to work out right. And we have faith that on November 8th, we are going to win a majority in the House and Senate and set this nation on the right path once again. This is a journey that is not going to begin and end on Election Day, November 8th, 2022. This is a journey that began last year when voters woke up. First, they woke up in Northern Virginia because they were sick and tired of parents being told at school board meetings that they were that they were not behaving properly, and that they needed to listen to their school board and let their bureaucrats do the work for them of parenting their children. Instead of educating their children, they were indoctrinating their children. The parents said no, and they rose up and took their rights back. And then in the fall, across Virginia, not only were parents waking up, but Virginians across the Commonwealth were waking up. They were looking for a better course for their Commonwealth than what they were getting from Ralph Northam. They were waking up from the lockdowns of the COVID era that were keeping their kids out of classrooms, keeping their businesses shut down and not able to earn a living, keeping their families locked in their homes. They said no, and they elected Glenn Youngkin, the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. They elected Winston Senior as the lieutenant governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And they elected Jason Mier as the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we have had an awakening in the Commonwealth. In Richmond, finally, things are moving in the right direction because we have won a majority in the House of Delegates, and Speaker Todd Gilbert is working hard to make sure that, at least from the House's perspective, and Morgan and I are creatures of the House of Delegates, that the House sets the tone for the Commonwealth and helps our governor lead Virginia in the right direction. But we're not done, because next year we're going to elect a majority in the state Senate, and Dave Suderline is going to be our next senator here in Roanoke. But we've got a job to do.
Marijuana and gambling out of Virginia.
We've got some issues in Virginia we're going to definitely work on. But we've got a challenge this year. This year, not only is Virginia under assault from an overreaching federal bureaucracy, our nation is under assault from an overreaching federal bureaucracy. This Constitution of the United States is under assault from Joe Biden, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and bureaucrats in the swamp. We haven't finished draining the swamp. We need you to send us both back. We're going to finish draining the swamp, and we're going to elect majorities in the House and Senate that are going to help us drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. But if there's one thing that last year taught us, it's that local elected officials matter. And that it's not just about what's coming out of Washington, it's about what's happening here at the local level. And so we need everybody here who lives in Roanoke to vote for our city council candidates so we can get a majority on the Roanoke City Council. We need to elect Dalton Borges. We need to elect Nick Hagan. We need to elect Maynard Keller. We need to elect Peg McGuire. And we need help from each and every one of you. Even if you don't live in Roanoke City, you can help at the polls. You can help by talking to the volunteer, not Peggy, Patty. Paulette. Where's Paulette? I'm sorry, Paulette. Thank you. Talk to Paulette about volunteering on Election Day, because we need each and every one of you. But between now and then, we need you to knock doors. We need you to talk to people at church. We need to talk to people in the grocery store. You never see somebody look at you so funny as when you walk up to them in the grocery store and say, "Can I talk to you about the election this November?" They scoot away from you pretty quick. But we need you to talk to everybody, because this election is so important for this nation. This election is so important for Roanoke. And with your help, we are going to emerge on November 9th with a new day for Virginia, a new day for America, a new day for the people, and a new partnership for our great governor, Glenn Youngkin. Now, I may be dressed a little casual today because I was having my farm tour. So we've been up in the Shenandoah Valley touring around farms. My boots are a little bit muck covered, but you know what? You got to have on muck boots to be able to wade through the swamp of Washington. So I didn't do much to just put these back on. But no, because agriculture, just like the businesses that we've got here in Roanoke, and we're going to be touring farms here in Roanoke County after this event, but agriculture is the economic backbone of this Commonwealth. The food we eat and the food that comes from the farmers here in our area, and it's the food that feeds not just Virginia but feeds America. And so getting to meet and see the farmers, see what they're doing, see the challenges that they're facing, not just from COVID, but also the challenges that they're facing from this federal bureaucracy. The challenges that they're facing from inflation that is affecting each and every one of us. You go to the grocery store these days, prices aren't what they were. The price of bacon, I love bacon. The price of bacon is not what it once was. But the price of everything is up. It is terrible. And that pricing, that whether it's gas or fertilizer. It goes into, they call it input costs for farmers, but it's also input costs for manufacturers, input costs for services here in the Roanoke Valley, and it's input costs for your budget. I mean, you don't think of it as input costs when you're doing your family budget, but that's really what it is, because you've got to factor in how much gas costs, you've got to factor in how much your electricity is going to cost, how much all of your bills, your food costs, and inflation is hurting American families. And if we don't get a handle on inflation now, we are going to be in for a rough winter. That's why we need Republican control of the House, Republican control of the Senate, because Republicans have a solution for inflation. Democrats don't have a solution. They don't want to talk about it. Nancy Pelosi says, let's change the subject. Well, we're not going to let her change the subject. We're going to let her change her address back to California, back to San Francisco. We're going to send Nancy Pelosi back to retirement to that freezer full of ice cream she's got. And I know she can afford to pay the higher price of that ice cream, but you and I cannot. Well, we have got to tackle inflation. The solution to inflation for food, for manufacturing, for gas, it's energy independence, returning to the Trump administration's energy independence that we had. Right. And we've got a partner in Richmond who wants to help us with energy independence. He wants Virginia to lead that charge towards energy independence with not just investments in renewables, but investments in fossil fuels and investment in innovative new small nuclear reactors, which we're going to put in Southwest Virginia and Morgan Griffith District. So this partnership is so important to tackling inflation. This partnership is so important to tackling all of the challenges that are facing the Commonwealth of Virginia. We stand ready to take the majority in Washington, D.C., to move that partnership forward to a better Virginia, to a greater Roanoke Valley, and to an outstanding America. I look forward to that partnership in the majority with our governor. Thank him for coming to the Roanoke Valley today. Governor Youngkin.
You can feel the spirit moving. It's just unbelievable. I have one important hello. I want to say hello to Mary Nelson this morning. Good morning. How are you? Thank you for coming out. Lots of places you can be. Lots of places you can be. You know, last time we were together, your son was taking to get your hair done. And so thank you for taking good care of it. Hey, friends. This is our moment. Here we are. Can you believe it feels a little familiar, doesn't it? Because you can feel this momentum building not just across the Commonwealth, but across the country, as everybody is fully aware of what's been happening to us. And everybody's standing up and saying, no more, no more, no more. We are buying that plane ticket for Nancy Pelosi, and we are going to send her back to California. That's what we're going to do. You know, and of course, we're going to shock everybody because there was, 4 or 5 months ago, they were saying, well, wait a minute, this Republican red wave may be kind of losing its momentum. But let me tell you, the red wave that started in the Commonwealth of Virginia last year has picked up momentum. And I'm so looking forward to that red wave washing across the country, but most importantly, picking up the most faithful representatives, men who work hard for you every single day. Morgan Griffith and Ben Cline will be on their surfboard surfing right back into Washington. And the best part about it, they're going to come in and walk to the majority. How about that? They're going to go, they're in charge. And this is going to be a huge, huge moment. You know, what we've seen over the course of the last 2 years is we have seen Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. I mean, they are agents of chaos. Everything they do makes it even worse. I mean, we're sitting here looking at runaway inflation and cost in the grocery store, cost at the gas tank, cost your utility bill, everything in life. Good luck trying to find fence posts. I mean, you just cannot get anything today. And then what do? They turn around and pass another runaway spending bill, the Inflation Causing Act. And they all sign it, and then they have a lawn party to celebrate it. And guess what? Prices go up again. We're seeing runaway crime across the nation. Violent crime's going through the roof, and what do? They continue to demean and demoralize law enforcement. Well, let me tell you, these two gentlemen right here stand strong for law enforcement. We've got some right over here. We want to say thank you. Then we see this week, yet the next alarm bell ringing loud, that the liberal Democrats have ruined our schools and they're actually damaging our kids. And we knew this. Shutting schools, keeping them closed for a prolonged period of time, shoving parents out of our kids' lives, saying that we should be teaching politics in the classroom and not critical math, critical reading, and critical history. And all of a sudden we see this week the National Report Card come out, and you can see the damage they've done to our kids. And let me tell you, we need to make change, and change is coming, and these guys are at the forefront when we take back our majority. You actually have to conclude that what Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi want is what we're getting. High inflation, runaway crime, poor performance in schools, and a wide open border that's causing a national security crisis. And fentanyl is pouring into this nation to the point where every single state is a border state. You know, today in the Commonwealth, we've seen overdoses over the last couple of years nearly double. And 76% of them are from fentanyl. We know where it's coming from. We have got to secure the border and put sanity back in charge. That's what we have to do. I mean, this thing is so easy. Here we go. We got Ben Cline. Ben Cline, who understands what it means to balance a budget. He understands what it means. I mean, he was actually named a taxpayer superhero. This is what Ben Cline stands for. He's on the most powerful appropriations committee, and to get back in charge so that we, in fact, can drive outcomes, put clamps on spending, and return sanity to how we're managing our balance sheet. You know that we had record tax revenue in the United States of America, almost $5 trillion. And somehow or another, they figured out how to spend $7. It's absolutely out of control. And so we got to get Ben Cline back in there, holding the line on spending and returning fiscal responsibility to America. And I will tell you this, that when Morgan Griffith shows up, he represents Virginia, and he is going to hold Joe Biden accountable. He's on the Energy Oversight Committee. We got to have more oversight. We have watched Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi dismantle energy independence, dismantle our advantage, dismantle the fact that we don't have to be held hostage, and yet now we are. And what are they doing? They're begging for more production out of Venezuela and out of Saudi Arabia. How about going to Americans and asking us to do what we do best? And that's be independent. These gentlemen understand who they work for. You know, here we are. We're standing right here in the 6th, and we've got early voting open right over. We're in the 9th?
Yes, the 9th.
9th? What the early voting?
We're at quarter to 9.
Night, we're in the night. Okay, here we are. It's the night.
About 3 blocks that way.
3 blocks that way is the 6. All right, everybody come together. There's early voting right over here. I want you to go vote because we got to get these guys back in office. I was just in Bristol this morning, and what you recognize is that there is an undeniable, unmistakable, and uncontrollable spirit of Virginia that's flowing across this Commonwealth. That spirit of Virginia is rested in the fact that we know that freedom and liberty are not to be compromised. I mean, to think that just a year ago we had pundits saying that there's no way that Republicans can get elected in Virginia. they forgot to do one very important thing: ask the voters. That's what they forgot to do. Virginia is on the move, friends, and I'm telling you, the spirit of Virginia is alive and well. That same spirit that breathed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness into this nation. We're the headwaters of this red wave started in the Commonwealth. We're watching it spread across the whole nation. People are looking to Virginia and saying, hey, I want what they've got. I want to make sure that we, in fact, not only have a majority in Congress, but I want to make sure we have a majority congressional delegation from Virginia. And that's why we're working so hard to flip seats. I have to tell you, it's been 4 battle warriors holding on for us, and we're about to send 7 at least. And these 7 are going to go to work. At the end of the day, it's about freedom and liberty. That's what it's about. At the end of the day, we see the left, liberal, progressive Democrats trying to tell everybody they know better. And guess what? Those immortal words that we all know, the immortal words, in fact, the most immortal words written in this hemisphere by Thomas Jefferson, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal. And that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are not rights that are granted by a king. These are not rights that are handed down by elites in Washington or Richmond. These are rights that are granted to us by an almighty God. And we have to stand up and protect them. And the way we're going to do this right now is we're going to send these 2 gentlemen back to Congress in leadership positions so that they can represent freedom and liberty. That's what's going to happen. This doesn't happen just by standing out here. It happens by doing the work. And you all understand what it means to do the work. Last year you did the work and we shocked the nation. This year we're going to do the work and we're going to send these folks into a majority. Next year we're doing the work and we're sending David Suderline into a majority in our Senate. And we know that what that work stands for. What that work stands for is the voice of the people. And it requires us to put a hat on every head and a bumper sticker on every car, a t-shirt on every chest. Oh, by the way, it requires us to knock doors and send texts and to make phone calls, to volunteer. Folks, we had 5,000 volunteers working the polls last year. More volunteers than anybody can remember. Virginia stood up. We got to stand up again. Heck, I think everybody ought to go ahead and put on a red vest. This is our moment. It's our moment to come together and make the second big statement. That it's not Republicans against Democrats, but it's Virginians standing up for the shared values that we know are true because, friends, we know elections have consequences. God, those guys look good.
Look at this. You guys look good. My wife's been asking me to get something like this. I'm a little stiff.
Hang on 1 second. Yeah, let me finish. Let me finish, because it is not Republicans against Democrats. It is Virginians standing up for the values we hold dear. And what we see out of the progressive liberals is, in fact, an absolute attempt to take away those freedoms and liberties. And guess what? Elections have consequences. And when we lose, the consequences are dire. We watched it for too long in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we have watched it too long at the national level, and we are about to take her back. Because guess what? The winning team is the winning team. You get to stand and make decisions. And we're about to stand and make decisions when we win, because we are the party. We are the people that represent those shared values. We believe in safe neighborhoods. We believe in strong families. We believe in low taxes, low regulations. We believe in the power of the entrepreneur. We believe in backing the blue. We believe that there is peace through strength, not weakness through weakness. We believe that In fact, our schools are supposed to be teaching our children how to think, not what to think. And guess what? We so fundamentally believe that parents matter. So it's time to lock arms. It's time to get this done. It's time to watch that red wave sweep across the Commonwealth and sweep across the country. It's time to reestablish the Republican majority in our House of Representatives. And guess what? We're about to see Republican majority in the Senate as well, friends. We're going to see governors' races flip all across the country. Every one of those states that's run by a Democrat sits there and says, but I want a Republican governor too. Friends, it's happening. And it's exciting to see our nation all of a sudden stand up together and lock arms because we have this shared belief. We have this spirit of Virginia that is just like the spirit of America, a spirit that believes in liberty and freedom, a spirit that believes in the dignity of work, a spirit that believes in God and country and family. And that's the spirit that we all feel in our veins today. And so now we got to go do the work. For those of you that can vote in the night, go vote in the night, right over here. You go vote now.
If you're in the county, you can vote over there in the 6th, too.
Vote in the 6th if you're in the county, right over here right now. If you haven't, I want you to go home and get 10 friends and bring them out to vote too. And by the way, if by the end of the week they haven't voted, go get them in your car and drive them to the right polls. Drive to the right polls. Friends, we can get this done. And we're going to make an extraordinary statement for Virginia and for America. And I cannot wait to watch it happen. God bless you. God bless Virginia. God bless the United States of America. And God bless Morgan Griffith and Ben Cline. Thank you.
Take a seat. Here we go. Here we go.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. I got a basketball for you. Bear with me.